The economic and human devastation of the COVID 19 pandemic has unfortunately created a loss of trust that could be forever in so many contexts of action. In these times of ordeal, many aspects could not be fixed, even in a matter of decades. Nevertheless, mankind must stand hands in hands in order to overcome this virus and its variants. The most important thing is to portray it like if we were in the Second World War, the Western world working with the communists in order to overcome Adolf Hitler's, Benito Mussolini, and Hideki Tojo, in example. So, if I want to analyze this more in a contextual way of how to work on it, is to analyze the measures in order to reduce the debt burden and increase liquidity, especially for low and mid income countries. Among the things that I could discuss, a summary of topics ever since this virus started in November 2019 in the People's Republic of China and following the Big Bang of March 2020 worldwide, the first real Big Bang of our era that our generation is seeing. I mean, is this first big major event that shakes the world ever since Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I mean, there were things in between, such as the fall of the Wall of Berlin, but it's not the same. So, among the things that I could discuss here is I mentioned the issue regarding liquidity and debt solutions in order to invest and act. There is the analysis of COVID 19 and universal health coverage, the comprehensive response to COVID 19. COVID 19 and transforming sectors such as agriculture, industry and tourism, and services and trade. Education during COVID 19 and beyond. I will get back a little bit later to speak about this a little bit more. The impact of COVID 19 on so many regions. I want to have a focus on Southeast Asia, especially after the beginning of the health crisis in China over a year ago. COVID 19 in an urban world, tackling inequality through new social contracts for this new era, understanding the question of developments and the definition of developments. I've already given the highlights regarding the Vision 2050 that must be adopted in order to work, because this is again not just versus COVID-19. It's an issue that we have highlighted at the beginning of 2020 in order to start fresh regarding a new reset era regarding matters of developments. In the matter of counterterrorism as well, that is my matter that I will get back to speak about later. But just since unfortunately the COVID-19 happened, this is part of this. Within these next 3 decades, one of the main first steps while we're overcoming the economic inequalities throughout the world is to fight this pandemic. It's an extra hurdle, but it's a hurdle that is on the way right now. COVID-19 and the people on the move, the world and work and COVID-19, the impact of COVID-19 on food, security and nutrition is another important context to analyze. The impacts of COVID-19 in African countries, and I will get back here to analyze a little bit the vaccines inequality that I have mentioned at a glance in my previous video. The COVID-19 and the need for action on mental health, a disability inclusive response to COVID-19, the impact of COVID-19 on older persons, the framework for the immediate socioeconomic response for the COVID-19, death and COVID-19 from the perspective of a global response in solidarity, the impact of COVID-19 on women and children, and finally ensuring also an equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines in contexts affected by conflicts and insecurity. So with this being said, the first thing summary-wise when we want to go forward with the topics and with action is to leave aside the collective psychology that have shown us so many times its ineffective ways in order to move forward in these times of uncertainty. The role of the United Nations must be mentioned here. I think it's a very important thing to focus on the economic development if you want to get further in this. I discussed previously at the UN with Akim Steiner regarding the indicators and conditions on economic development as a way to prevent and counter terrorism, because this is a very important factor that will help a lot within the next 3 decades in the endeavors of counter terrorism. And I will be focused on the next video conferences of the UN and at the level of other think tanks regarding this topic as well. My next topic will be also regarding the consistent relationship between youth and violent extremism. It is very important here to get back and analyze the literature. I just tweeted a few days ago regarding some important topics related to violent extremism and therefore counterterrorism, and the importance of analyzing all what have been written by academics, but this couldn't serve only if it's gonna be used for action. And from that point on, after reviewing the literature, the second step in order to work regarding this issue of youth and violent extremism is to see the existing limitations and potential solutions through targeting and also having a simplistic understanding of youth motivators throughout the action, and also analyzing the danger of secularization. So, many other topics here that could be spoken about. Some topics of the United Nations Security Council during the month of March. And I want to analyze some that have so many caveats on them here. I mean, so many red lines. We're speaking about the situation of Myanmar. As I have foreseen, it would have been escalating. There are the issues regarding the Tigray in East Africa, and of course the issues that have been concerning recently of the tension between the People's Republic of China and Europe, and of course the Korean missiles issue that is infecting the problems of the Korean Peninsula. Also looking forward to the Syria conference to invest in humanity for the future, not only for the country, but also for the whole region when we speak here about it. Israel, Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, and Iraq. I spoke with my closest friends and colleagues about the directive of this topic of Syria way before, in 2011-2012. And I want to thank you everyone for following closely my activity in social media regarding the matters of counterterrorism, peace enforcing, and also security matters throughout the globe. So like I said, mixing this activity that I'm specialized in with an importance of a global reset action, the vision of 2050, imagining in a hypothetical post-COVID world that it's mandatory to start with new principles. And that's what I invoked earlier when I spoke about the role of the UN. More actions than ideas. Regarding an important topic that I want to come back here to speak about also is the fact that the importance of the problem of education. So there is an issue here that is the warning of school from distance that is ineffective according to so many indicators, because it is happening because of the pandemic. The UNESCO spoke about it, and it is proving that it's not gonna be as effective as real school. While almost everyone is giving opinions on social, societal politics verbally, doing citizen journalism, for example, why kneeling for the Uyghur issue and not the Rohingya? You have the answer for that. Who am I to dig in vicious circles, resulting in agreeing on disagreements? I have the answer for that. Full stop. The hashtags here, since people's strength today is more technology more than literature, is no. Definitely not. So this was just a bracket that I opened while I was speaking about these important topics. I want to come back to the deep problem of education. It's based on every definition today of the money, so that's how it's supposed to be today. Education based on a definition of the dollars, of the money, instead of general knowledge. Even if you don't like that, I mean, there is a way you have to do it for survival matters. Even if you have not understood that your whole life, you have to see that there is a way for survival first. I could give the example of the DPRK. Kim Il-sung, then Kim Jong-il, then Kim Jong-un had to realize that there must be some sort of focus on economical way for survival, first of all, especially when there was problems of starvation in their country. Even if you have to do it in a non-conformist way according to your political orientation in order to survive, first of all. Same thing should be mentioned in the case of Cuba with the experiences of Fidel Castro and Raúl Castro in the post-1990 world.